Pam Bondi is out at the Department of Justice. President Trump made the announcement today, and there's no official word on who will permanently replace her as the nation's top lawyer. The president has placed Todd Blanche as acting attorney general. Bondi has been on thin ice for months with the president, first for overpromising on the Epstein files. That created a frenzy by some influencers who lashed out when they realized the documents she released had already been made public. Then yesterday, the president was reportedly not happy after the DOJ's underperformance, arguing to end birthright citizenship before the Supreme Court. But the president praised Bondi today, saying on Truth Social, quote, "We love Pam," and announcing she would be moving to a job in the private sector. Now, Bondi posted on X following her firing and the new position, saying, in part, "I am thrilled about where I will continue fighting for President Trump and this administration. I remain eternally grateful for the trust that President Trump placed in me to make America safe again."